Hi, my name is John Capobianco. I've been in information technology for about 20 years as a professional network engineer and systems architect. For the last 5 years, I've been focusing heavily on network automation and infrastructure as code. Today, I'm hoping to show you something that I believe is maybe done for the first time in the whole world, and that's why I'm making this video. The video is not meant to be a professional video. I realize there's some echo and it's a little homemade, but that's fine because my code is homemade too. So today I'm hoping to inspire you and show you some incredible new technologies that were pretty easy to put together. I've only been using Python for about 3 days now, if you can believe it, and just in that short amount of time I've been able to invent something entirely new. Now, in my world of computer networks and network engineering and network configuration and monitoring and provisioning and designing and architecting, we've been limited to a 60-year-old technology. That's right, 60 years, 1965, that the command line interface was invented and released. Now, network people and computer programmers like to dunk on COBOL programmers because their program is from 1959. But a little dirty secret in the computer networking world is that we're using legacy 60-year-old technology to try and create a next generation of infrastructure and computer communications, telecommunications, the cloud, all of these amazing new things. It's hard to believe that we're still using a 60-year-old command line interface. So through some new technologies, primarily Python, the object-oriented, free and open source computer programming language, some Python libraries, and what are known as RESTful APIs, a REST API using cloud services, I've looked to try to make a next generation command line interface. So in these next short clips, I'm going to show you the classic Cisco show version command, and let's see what we can do with it with Python. Stick around. I hope you find this fun and engaging and inspiring, and I really believe you're watching something being done for the first time. Stick around. Hi, we're going to try to share my screen and show what I've managed to do with the command line interface from Cisco IOS XE on a 3850 Catalyst switch. Okay, if you're new or young or maybe don't know about networking, that's a Cisco provided switch that forwards traffic over the internet and over your local network to things like workstations and printers and wireless access points and phones and security cameras, and many different things can be plugged into this switch. Well, as I'll show you, traditionally, all I can run is a show version command to get the version and some other information back in text on my screen. Now, what I've done on my screen here is taken that through PuTTY and logged my session to a text file, which is typically all that I've been able to do 20 years in the industry. And even that requires an extra step of setting up a logging system to capture what the switch puts out on the screen into a file. So let's just take a quick look at what a plain text version of the show version command looks like. Now, I've removed the serial number and any sensitive information, but you can see that at the very top here, this is a PuTTY log, and I run the show ver command, and it gives me back that I'm running version 16.12.04 of the Gibraltar code on a Catalyst Layer 3 switch. If I scroll further down, I have some licensing information and some memory information and some different pieces of information like how long this switch has been online and when the switch was last reloaded and the reason it was reloaded. Now, some of that information has only been released recently as Cisco enhances the CLI. In my day, you couldn't get things like the last time the switch was rebooted or why it was rebooted just from the CLI. Now, that's pretty limited. So what I'm going to do next is take Python and the Cisco Genie library, or SDK as it's known, the software development kit. Now, Genie will parse meaning evaluate those strings of text I just showed on my screen and turn it into JavaScript object notation, also known as JSON, is how I pronounce it. Kind of like the psychopathic killer with the mask on his face. Jason, this is JSON. Now, JSON is a key component of infrastructure as code, as we will see, because it is also used to interact with RESTful APIs, and it also lets me use Python and Jinja 2 templating, Python's templating language, to take those JavaScript objects and rearrange them into things like a CSV file, a spreadsheet, or a Markdown file, which is like a web page but lighter version of code, or even a full-blown web page in hypertext markup language, HTML. Now those three files, that was one of my goals. Could I transform? Could I turn show version into a next-gen show version that automatically using Genie could turn my output into business-ready documentation? Now, there is a Python library that also comes with Genie known as pyATS, or Automatic Testing Solution, which is also from Cisco. Now, pyATS gives me the framework to work with Genie and my show commands programmatically. Now, once I have that JavaScript, I can then write a Jinja 2 template and turn it into those three file types. Now, a template, don't be scared of this word or confused by this word. It's not a fancy word. You've likely used templates before. Word comes with templates, PowerPoint comes with templates. There are different templates that let you make multiple versions of the same file type using inputted data in variables. And that's my goal here. So if we swing back over to the screen, I'll show you what that data looks like in a CSV file, a Markdown file, and a hypertext markup language file, an HTML web page. Go ahead and swing over and let me show you. Now, what you're looking at here is Visual Studio Code, VS Code, which is my integrated development environment, or IDE. Now, VS Code lets me look at something like this CSV file that you see on the screen, which is amazing in itself. Remember what we just looked at. Unsorted, unformatted, unstructured data from the command line has now been put into a spreadsheet. Now with VS Code, I can put a preview on, and you can see what it would look like in something like Microsoft Excel. And you can see I have the platform, the made-up host name, the chassis, the version, the ID. It's nice and formatted and easy to read. Now I also have this in Markdown, which looks like this. It's more of a tabular table sort of view, and instead of commas, it uses pipes to separate the data. Lastly, I have my hypertext markup language file here that looks something like this in a browser. Whoops, that's not the browser. Where did the browser go? Here it is. So this is that same data in a living, breathing web page. Pretty neat, right? Well, what I thought I would do next, I could stop there and transform the entire business of the show version command, right? Those three files are extremely powerful, and I've chosen one host file. The nice thing about Python and pyATS is that using test beds, which is what I use to connect to the device securely and establish what devices I want to test on, I could scale that to 10 devices, 1,000 devices, 100,000 devices, and create a spreadsheet of every version of every device in my entire enterprise. That is pretty powerful. Now I could probably stop there, but I thought I could go further, and let's integrate the RESTful API. So that was all pretty neat stuff. A CSV file, a spreadsheet that you can search and sort and filter and find and make pivot tables and bar graphs and pie charts, all kinds of Excel wizardry with that show version data. They used to be just raw text dumped out on a screen. We also have it in Markdown, which you could store in a GitHub repository that would render the Markdown so it looks pretty on the screen in your browser, and also a full-blown HTML web page, which is incredible. But I mentioned the REST API, and have you ever wondered how the internet from the early 90s, I grew up on a bulletin board system using telephone wires. Before the internet, I've lived through the first generation, the second generation, Web 2.0, and beyond to the world of Netflix and Google and Amazon and Disney and our mobile phones and TikTok and all of these incredible things that didn't even exist just a few years ago. I believe we've entered a post-REST API world, and as a result of the REST methodology, these services have changed the entire world and how we communicate with each other and how computers can now communicate with other computers. So the next things I'm going to show you are all using REST APIs from different cloud services and different cloud providers. I was playing World of Warcraft with my guild, and I was in Discord, which is the modern version of instant messaging. It lets you communicate with each other with audio and video in teams of large numbers of people. So my guild has 30 people all together in one Discord channel talking to each other, figuring out in-game strategies to help us win in the game. Work was trying to get a hold of me, the office, because there was a serious network problem, and they couldn't seem to get in touch with me because I was so immersed in my Discord channel and my raid. They actually mentioned later, once they did get a hold of me, that wouldn't it be great if we could get a hold of you in Discord? Which seemed kind of funny, but actually led me to my next discovery and what I'm going to show you next. Now, how this all ties into the next generation show version command and the first talking network in the world, it was a key step, and it's what's known as chatbots or chatbotting, where I write a robot in Python to send chat messages. Now, I already have the network data in JSON. I could probably easily connect with the Discord REST API and send myself chatbots through the internet with alarms from the network. Now, before we get to the Python, I'm going to mention another tool that I use known as Postman. Now, Postman is kind of like a web browser, but it's an API development tool, and it goes much more deeper than a browser's ability to send and receive data. You can develop code in JavaScript and in REST API JSON structure to communicate with cloud-based REST services. Now, when you're bringing data down through your browser from Google or from your favorite web page, under the hood, under the scenes, you're actually doing an HTTP GET. And it's a method that gets data. In order for me to communicate with a chatbot, I have to do a post and post data to the API. So I hope you're excited about this because I'm going to do it live here for you on the screen. So I'm in my Discord channel here, and you can see that there's no messages. I haven't cheated. I'm not using any magic here. There's no data in my Automate Your Network channel. Now, I had mentioned Postman, and this is what the Postman GUI looks like, where you have collections, and then in your collections you have requests, like an HTTP request. Now, my request here is to post data to the Discord API. Do you follow along so far? So now you'll see in the body of my post, I have headers and a body and the actual URL, the Uniform Resource Locator, which is the internet address where I'm going to post the data. Now the data I'm posting is a username, the content of the post, and what are known as embedded data, such as a title and a description. So I'm going to hit send, and I get a 204 back, green, and a 200 message means it was successful. So when I minimize this screen, wow, in real time, I sent myself a message through a bot called Automate Your Network. This is a Postman test, a webhook, and this is known as a webhook. I'm hooking into the web from Postman. This is a Postman test. Well, isn't that incredible? So my next step, I'm going to delete this message so you can see that my channel is empty and I'm not cheating in any way here. Can I run a Python job or playbook that will now send the data through Python from the network to my Discord channel? So I'm going to run a one-line command, and the command is pyATS, because I'm using the Cisco pyATS framework to run a job called the modern show version .py. A py file is a Python file, and then I pass it my testbed file, which is the dummy host name for my imaginary switch. So I'm going to run this, and let's see what happens live. So it connects to the device using the testbed and sets up the secure connection. It runs the show version command, and then it stops. I've sent myself a message that says the post to Discord has a code of 204, which is great. That's a successful code. So now what do you think? When I minimize the screen, wow, look at that. There is the show version command formatted to a message in Discord. Now, remember the Jinja templates I talked about? This is actually a Jinja template with the JSON structure, and I use the variables from the Genie parsed command, such as the version here. That's real data from the network. I didn't code that in. That comes from my Jinja template, the structure of this message. So the other thing is that I use Discord personally, and this was kind of just for fun to see if I could make chatbots work. I'm going to show you two other channels where I've received this information. So in my Slack network VIP team, which I've been invited to and hosted by Blue Cat Networks, a DNS company, they have what's known as a Slack channel, where I join other network professionals to talk about and to share information and to learn from each other about networks and DNS. So you can see in their channel, there's a message from Automate Your Network, the app, and it's that same data that's come through a Jinja template specific for Slack formatted JSON. So what I'm getting at is that with a template, I can take the data and structure it to fit many different applications, not just a CSV file, but to send it, meaning to post it, to a RESTful API. Now I'm also part of the WebEx team that is part of the pyATS community. So they helped me write this code and helped me learn their framework. So what I did was I crashed their party and I sent them a bot message, and it's that same data. So in that one command, I've sent myself chat messages to Discord and to Slack and to WebEx. I'm working at my enterprise to send it to Microsoft Teams next. I could send it to my phone's version of the application. I can do many, many things with this. Isn't that incredible? Now, one thing that I thought was really cool was in Discord. I'm going to click on a little button here beside this message because it's my inspiration for the next API that I'm going to explore with you today. And it's really to the video's title. If you've been waiting this long to see the world's first talking network, thank you for sticking around. But here was my inspiration. In Discord, there is a speak message button that I can click, and Discord will take the text and translate it to speech. And I can do this and play it over my headset. Now then I thought, wouldn't it be neat if I could do this myself with another API? Could I take the text and send it to a TTS service, text to speech, in the cloud? And it turns out there are actually several TTS cloud providers, one of which is Google. Azure has a text-to-speech service. There's some third-party services available. It's actually becoming a new emerging technology, an emerging market, because it's incredible. Imagine if I could take this sentence and have a computer speak it to me in human words. If I could actually make my network talk. And that's what I'm going to do next. So now we come to it, the talking computer network. Now, when I was a kid, really small, one of my first memories, and maybe that's why I'm so passionate about this, was a speak and spell. Now this was a pretty large plastic toy with a keyboard on it, and you could type in letters and strings of letters, and it would speak them back to you. Like the name implies, a speak and spell. Should have been a spell and speak, but that's beside the point. I am really just think this is incredible that computers could possibly speak to us like other humans speak to us. So we have the JavaScript object notation of the show version command, and we've put it through some Jinja2 templates. We use Genie to parse it, and it gives us a JSON, which we then run through the Jinja2 templates that we've created, CSV files, Markdown files, HTML files, and we've sent ourselves some chatbots formatting the structure into other JSON that we post to another API. With those same tools and techniques with Python, we can connect to the Google Cloud text-to-speech API and send it our JSON, which is the show version command, and have Google in over 200 languages read back the text to us in an MP3 file. So let's take a look at this. Here's the show command. Now I want to point out that that same command you watched me run not too long ago, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, has given me all those files we've talked about, as well as these files I'm about to show you, which I've staged and made them ready to listen to. In that 5 seconds, we've actually done this as part of those steps through Python. Let's take a listen. So this is the MP3 file in English.
This is being sent from pyATS. The device MG06FSZ3A, a Catalyst L3 switch, is a WSC 3851 2x48U running iOS Z version 16.12.4 using image CAT3K_CAAUNIVERSALK9M. The device has been up for 1 week, 4 days, 6 hours, 29 minutes and was last rebooted on 13 hours, 17 minutes and 25 seconds est Monday, March 1st, 2021 because upgrade to version 16.12.4. It has the following interfaces: virtual Ethernet 2 gigabit Ethernet 8010 gigabit Ethernet 4040 gigabit Ethernet 4. Of the total 795,032 non-volatile configuration, 2048 physical 4,194,304 is being used. The serial number is 1234 with a subscription smart license.
Wow. So that right there is the first talking computer in the world that I know of using Genie, the software development kit, pyATS, the automation framework, JSON as a commonality language that we can use to make computers talk to computers. And then we send it to the Google Cloud, which translates it into that message. Now, my wife and myself, parlez-vous français? Un petit peu. My wife speaks a lot more French, and I'd like to thank her right now for giving up her Saturday to help me record these videos. She's a French Canadian. I speak a little French, and I have to as part of my job requirement. So I have colleagues that are primary language is actually French. They are English as a second language. Wouldn't it be neat if I could send them the version from Cisco in their native language? Well, let's see how that worked out. So I'm just going to tab over to that file and let's have a listen en français.
Ceci est envoyé par pyATS. L'appareil MG06FSZ3A, un Catalyst L3 Switch, est un WSC3850 2X48U en cours d'exécution IOSX version 16.12.4 utilisant l'image CAT3-CAAUNIVERSALK9N. L'appareil est en service depuis un week 4 des 6 hours 39 minutes et a été redémarré pour la dernière fois le 13h 17 minutes et 25 secondes et mon marin 2021 parce que upgrade to version 16.12.4. Il a les interfaces suivantes: Virtual Ethernet 2 GB Ethernet 80 10 GB Ethernet 40 40 GB Ethernet 4. Du total 795 032, non volatile configuration 2048, physical 4 194 304 est utilisé. Le numéro de série est 1234 avec une licence subscription Smart Lease.
Michelle, did that sound like French to you? Did that make any sense in your language?
Oui.
Merci. So, how far can we take this? Well, through my automation evangelism and through my openness and my love of connecting with people, I've connected with people all around the world. There's one gentleman who's probably going to watch this video who's very kind to me and encouraging, and I have a lot of respect for him. He lives in Greece. So what if I could send this and get it in Greek? And let's see, and I haven't cheated here at all. I took the text of the message I would like in my Jinja2 template. This one is templating Greek. So I went to Google Translate and I got the Greek translation from Google Translate in text, leaving the variables from the JSON data alone. And I tried to send this to the Greek, Google Cloud TTS RESTful API. So let's hear if the network knows any Greek. I'm just going to tab over to the Greek tab. And these are about a minute, so I appreciate your time and patience, but I think this is pretty cool. And here we go.
Αυτό αποστέλλεται από την pyATS η συσκευή MG06FSZ3A, μια Catalyst L3 Switch, είναι μια WSC385012X48U έκδοση iOS 6 έκδοση 16, 12,4 χρησιμοποιώντας εικόνα CAT3 και η κάτω παύλα CAEUNIVRSALKNN. Η συσκευή έχει λειτουργήσει για ένα week 4 days 6 hours 52 μήνες και πραγματοποιήθηκε τελευταία επανεκκίνηση στο 13, 17 και 25 est mon marena 2 2021 επειδή upgrade του version 16.12.4 έχει τις ακόλουθες διεπαφές Virtual Ethernet 2 GB Ethernet 80 GB Ethernet 40 GB Ethernet 4 από το σύνολο 795.032 Non-Volatile Configuration 2048 Physical 4.194.304. Ο συριακός αριθμός είναι 1234 με άδεια subscriptions Mark List.
How about that? Now, neither my wife nor myself speak any Greek, so I'm going to have to take Google's word for it. But the possibilities here are endless. Now, that's a show version command, and maybe it's not the best candidate for this type of demo. But what if my vendor needed the show version command, and because of our global interconnected world, what if their primary language wasn't English? What if my engineer was working out of Brazil and I work with a lot of Brazilians? Well, I could send it to them in a language that they choose, directly from the computer in one command, instantly ending up in their WebEx session. This is revolutionary stuff, and I'm having a lot of fun here, but there's also people out there that I think these APIs are going to help make the world more accessible and more equal and give them an opportunity to participate in the digital economy and to gain some sense of freedom and independence using technology. One of my early colleagues early in my career was forced out of the field because she had a degenerative eye disease that eventually she went blind and lost her vision. I picture a world where we could connect APIs and empower people through computer technology so that they don't have to leave work, or that they can participate, or that they can listen to computers talk to them through RESTful APIs. Now, I didn't stop here. There's even more that we can do with RESTful APIs, and now that I have an MP3 file, I can connect to another system in the cloud. My last API today really ties this whole thing together and is sort of like a crescendo for my presentation today and our talk today and what I'm trying to share with the world today. So now that I have an MP3 file of any piece of information from any system, and that's a network, that's a server, it's a cloud, it's another RESTful API, anything where we can get JavaScript object notation, we can send it to the cloud and have that text parsed, organized into the human sentence structure that we want, in any language, in any gender, and have an MP3 file of it, which is incredible. And we could disseminate those MP3 files in a lot of different ways. File transfers, I could attach those MP3 files to my Discord bot or my WebEx bot. There's many things we could do with an MP3 file on its own. But I wanted to go a step further. And another friend of mine, this gentleman from the United Kingdom, he sent me a tweet this morning. This morning, I woke up and I had a tweet on my phone asking me if I've played with the Twilio API. That's how I pronounce it. I hope I got that right. I just learned about it today. Not really, but it was the first time anyone asked me or that I thought about using their API system, because previously I had thought of it as a back-end SMS instant messaging type API that systems and telecommunications and the internet use to send text messages out. Which is true, and which is what one of the things their API can do. One of the neat things their API can do is make phone calls from the cloud to any phone number in the world, of any area code, of any country. You can use their API to send phone calls. One of the things you can do is to attach an MP3 file that will play on the other end of the phone when the call is received. So in my case, that means I've given my network the ability to talk. Now I've given it the ability to reach out to me and give me that message in person, so to speak. So this Python stuff that I'm showing you, it will run in another system in the Cisco testing automation suite called Espresso. I'm not going to show you Espresso today, but Espresso is a system that lets me run and control and run these pyATS jobs through a REST API and through a scheduling system and through Docker containers. So I could run these playbooks every 5 minutes. Now, why would I want to do that? Well, I could make this part of my monitoring strategy. So I could run a play every few minutes or as fast as I want. And when there's a change to the network state, well, in theory, I could have the network make a phone call to me with the information from the network in a voice message in any language. So we've really invented voice operations here, or voice ops is what I would call it, and chat ops. So let's watch this happen. Now, I'm not cheating here at all. I have a standard telephone here with a phone number, and I have that playbook that we ran earlier. And in theory, in about 5 seconds, my phone should ring once I run the job. Are you as excited as I am to see this? I am. Let's take a look. So I'm just going to press up arrow here. I have my pyATS job run job, py file, testbed file, and I'm going to press enter. Now we're going to scroll down to my phone here because the playbook will run in the background. We can just assume it's going to work. And let's see what happens. So the playbook just finished now. What? The phone is ringing, ladies and gentlemen, and children and boys and girls of all ages. Let's answer it and see what my network has to say.
You have a trial account. You can remove this message at any time by upgrading to a full account. Press any key to execute your code.
Okay, let's press the 1 key.
This is being sent from pyATS. The device MG06FFC3A, a Catalyst L3 switch, is a WSC 3851 2x48U running iOS Z version 16.12.4 using image CAT3K_CAAUNIVERSALK9M. The device has been up for 1 week, 4 days, 6 hours, 29 minutes, and was last reboot on 13 hours, 17 minutes, and 25 seconds est Monday, March 1st, 2021, because upgrade to version 16.12.4. It has the following interfaces: virtual Ethernet 2, gigabit Ethernet 8010, gigabit Ethernet 4040, gigabit Ethernet 4. Of the total 795,032 non-volatile configuration, 2048 physical 4,194,304 is being used. The serial number is 1234 with a subscription smart license.
How about that? In real time, my network made a phone call to me and told me exactly what I needed to know about the network. That is just incredible. Now, I was so excited about this that I reached out to Richard on Twitter in the United Kingdom, who was the one who sent me the tweet telling me I should play with Twilio. So what I have on my screen here, I asked him if he could record this in real time this morning, and it's funny, on his phone, you might not be able to see it, you can see my tweet saying, your phone should be ringing, over top of his phone ringing. And I'm not going to play the whole message and video again for you to hear, but let's just take a look here. This is in the United Kingdom, and I'm in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. So this is transatlantic real-time communication. So he's playing the message here. I don't have audio enabled right now, but that is that same message you just heard. He pressed 1, and my network is talking over the Atlantic from a cloud-based API call. So that, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, is the first, to my knowledge, talking phone call making, text message sending, business document generating, show version command. And this was one example. There are dozens, if not hundreds, of different commands, probably thousands of different applications for this. And what I want to leave you with is, don't be shy to start programming and using Python and using REST. I started just a few days ago, and I mean that, I promise. 3 days ago, I started writing Python. Now, I knew how REST APIs worked, and I had used other tools to interface with REST APIs like Postman, but I had never written Python before just a few days ago. And now I have my network making phone calls to me. So if you're young, like when I started, I was 10 years old when I got my first 286. My man on the moon moment, as I call it, some people of a certain generation remember exactly where they were when humans landed on the moon for the first time. For me and my generation, and me personally, was the first time over a BBS, a dial-up modem, someone phoned in to my computer, and I saw the word hello, ? Typed on my screen from someone out there. And that was life-changing to me, and the hook was in. And now I am 32 years later, using computers to make phone calls from other computer systems. So thank you for your time. I hope this wasn't too long. I know that there's a lot of distractions out there, and I thank you for joining me today. I hope to put out more videos, and a big special thank you to my wife for recording all of this today. Having a great weekend. Before I leave you today, and I hope you had a lot of fun with this video and maybe have learned some things and are excited about the world of technology and REST APIs and Python code, I want to let you know that all of the code you've seen here today, this whole solution, is available for free, known as open source code, on GitHub. Now, GitHub is the world's largest code repository, and Git, you didn't see much of Git today, but all that code I wrote was version and source controlled using Git. Now I take that repository and I put it on GitHub, that you can find the link in the description down below where to find the code and use it yourself. That's github.com/automateyournetwork. Now my personal blog, where I've written some posts like about the chatbotting, where I break down each section of Python code in a blog post and explain the code and what I've done with the code and why I use the code, and any pitfalls that I may have encountered while writing the code. So that's automateyournetwork.ca. Now, I love to connect with people. That's what I'm all about since the BBS days. So if you want to reach out and connect with me, if you have any questions or looking for tips or want some help or just want to send me a spicy meme about network automation, I'm all about those memes. You can reach me on Twitter at John_Capobianco. If you are not scared away by my love of memes and would like to reach out to me professionally, I'm easily found on LinkedIn as well. And I'm open to collaborate and communicate and help build a more connected world together. Hopefully you'll see more of these videos. If you reach down and click the like button and the share button and help get this video out, you'll certainly get much more videos from me in the near future. Thanks again. Stay safe out there.